I love dragons and death, cause they are fun.
Alright, so I got a bone to pick with George R.R. Martin, especially considering like this series, because it's like every one that has like some bummer stuff in it also has a ton of lore and freaking info dumping and introducing characters, where all like the happy fun ones that I wouldn't have to re-listen to over and over again, they got like nothing in them. So this is getting traumatic, and I will expand on this later when we get there. But basically the chapter is about Bran, little 7-year-old monkey man. He loves climbing. He climbs everywhere. It turns out, kind of historically, they just kept building around the first structures. So Winterfell's basically like a maze and a jungle gym full of tunnels and walls and stuff. And Bran loves it, right? And this morning, Bran was all teary-eyed because the king, of course, he wants to go on a hunt. He wants wild boar. So he's like, bet we going. He takes Joffrey along. So Robb goes with Ned. Most of the men are going, like not Jamie, but almost all of them except like Jon and Rickon and Bran, right? And he's like, Rickon's a baby. And then Jon is full emo kid, pissed at the world. Bran thinks he's mad at him even because he's just mad at everybody and nobody can really find him, right? So Bran's like with his own devices. He hasn't been able to name his wolves or nothing. Turns out Robb named his wolf Grey Wind. So there's Grey Wind, then Sansa has Lady, Arya has Nymeria, although Bran just said like some witch queen. And he's jealous that Jon thought of Ghost first, but he's tried a couple of names, can't do it. He's trying to teach his wolf to fetch. It's not going so well, like he's throwing the stick. So he's like, all right, bet, I'm gonna go climbing like he always does. And it turns out this has been a long problem with Bran, like the climbing and stuff. He loves it. That's, he likes going secret places and having his little secret hideaways, and he's feeling kind of conflicted about having to leave. So he just wants to go like feed his little crows in his secret tower that he found, because he has little hidey holes that he likes to go to, and he likes being alone and like kind of invisible up there. So it's like a passion. Like he promised his mom he'd stop climbing at one point because she's convinced he's gonna fall and die. And he like broke it and got punished, and they locked him in the Godwoods, like the guards were walking around, and he had to reflect and think about it. And when they found him in the morning, he's up in a tree, like at the very top, because he just loves climbing. And Ned's just like, I don't even think you're mine, dude. I think you're a squirrel. And then he does like the most dad thing ever. He's like, just don't let your mom find out, man. Like, so, his mom even gets old Nan, who, if you notice, every time they mention old Nan, she is telling Bran some wild story about like monsters or wildlings stealing babies, or kids getting hit by lightning from climbing trees and getting eaten with crows and stuff. Like old Nan is just inflicting fear on Bran all the time. Like, I think that's her job. Like, he's thinking about, going to the Red Castle that was built by the Dragon Lords and everything, and he instantly just has like a 1,000-yard stare from an old Nan story about how she told him there was ghosts and there's dragon heads on the walls, and it has dungeons where they do evil things and stuff. Like, old Nan is just out here coming for Bran. Okay, it's important to note, like, while he's walking and stuff with his wolf, because he has his own little routes to get places, like secretly, so he doesn't get caught by the guards or nothing. Like, he's thinking about like all that, and like that he won't have a pony anymore, and all the people he's leaving behind, because I guess like the pony guy, his name's like Hodor, and all he says is Hodor, and he like smiles a lot, like he's really nice, but that's basically his whole bang. And like there's a guy in the glass gardens that like sneaks some berries when he visits and stuff, you know, like he's just missing the place already, you know, before he's even left. And you know, he's being whimsical. He's like a kid, he's up in his head, and he's like thinking about the king's guards, you know, and stuff, and how they just swear their life to protect the king, and that's it. They don't have kids, they don't have wives, they don't have nothing, but like they're the most legendary swordsmen ever. And he's thinking about them, and this is part of the reason I had to re-listen to this horrible chapter so many times, is like there's just so many new names introduced. But he mentions like Sir Win, the Mirror Knight. If I do this, y'all owe me a like, because I had to listen to this like 6 times, and you'll see why that's bad in a minute. Sir Win, the Mirror Knight. Then he mentions Sir Aemond, the Dragon Knight and stuff. There's the twins, Eric and Arik, and I guess they killed each other, like the twin knights killed each other during they said the Dance of the Dragons battle. On top of that, there was, oh man, I'm all blanked. Great. There was Arthur Dane. Remember the Sword of the Morning that Ned put down? He's one of the legendary knights, apparently, or knights of legend and stuff. Jaime Lannister, the Lion himself. Although Robb told Bran, he was like, he killed the king, dude. Like, nah, you know, like he doesn't count anymore. He broke his oath, which fair. Also, like, I'm noticing the Starks do not like Lannisters, and that's fair. But on top of that, there was someone the Bold. He's like Barristan the Bold or something, and he's still alive. He's the commander of the King's Guard right now, and I think that's it. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. I might have missed somebody, but you know, he's got his own little route. So he like shimmies up the tree, tells his wolf like stay right there, and the wolf's even howling at him like be careful, and he's like you stay there, wolf, you know. And he gets up on the roof, and basically the way it goes is he jumps like roof to roof and stuff, like he's pulling, you know, like Batman or whatever, you know, like running across rooftops and stuff, because he's trying to stay towards the back. And there's this like first fortress, you know, that was built that's been abandoned. It's like super old, and it's got gargoyles, and he's got to like swing across these gargoyles, and then at the far end he can like jump and catch the old tower that he goes to feed the crows. He has corn in his pockets, and they feed him and stuff. That's why he shook off old Nan's story, because she was like, and the crows will eat your eyes. And he's like, crows don't eat my eyes, man. I feed the crows. But anyway, so he's going and he's climbing, and he's just in his head having fun. Like I really think he's just trying to like feed the crows one last time, get to his little safe spot and stuff, get isolated, look over the place. And while he's going, he's coming through the blind side of this tower, and then he starts hearing voices, right? And it's a man and a woman, and they're saying some wild stuff. Okay, like they're talking about, like, first you hear like, oh, you should have been the hand of the king, not Ned, and I should have insisted and stuff. Like, this is crap. I was sure Ned was gonna turn it down. Ned has never cared about anything below the neck, which I'm guessing the neck is like the bottom of the north and stuff. And she's like, so he's plotting. Like, there's no way. The only reason he took this is because he's plotting, right? And then you hear like a man's voice, and he's like, there's 100 reasons for him to be the hand of the king. Like maybe he misses his friend. maybe he wants glory, maybe he has a sense of duty to Robert, like, and they're kind of going back and forth, but like he's like hitting on her at the same time. He's like do we have to talk about this, because like there's better things to do, you know? and she's just plowing through and stuff. She's like, I don't trust this is crap, you know, like, you deserve it, you should be whoever. And Bran doesn't know who's talking yet, like he's just hearing voices. And you know, the guy's like kind of pacifying her even more, because I'm guessing like he wants to do some stuff. And sorry. And he's sitting there and he's like there's tons of other options that would have been worse than Ned Stark. At least Ned Stark is honorable. He's not like Stannis or Renly, who I guess are King Bobby's brothers, Stannis Baratheon, Renly Baratheon. And then he says like, or God forbid Littlefinger, whoever Littlefinger is. I don't know. If you got a nickname like Littlefinger, you're probably a gangster. So I'm just assuming he's a gangster at that point. And it's like, now come over here and you know, like let's do some stuff. And she's still going on, and she's like, this has to be a plot. Like, we're lucky his sister ain't here just leveling accusations right now, talking about Liza up in the area and stuff. And you know, Jamie just sitting there. Bran still doesn't know it's Cersei and Jamie, but Jamie is sitting there and he's like, yo, she already pieced out. Like, you know what I mean? If she had proof, this would have popped off already. You know, like, now come over here. And Cersei's like, she doesn't even need proof. Like, my husband hates me. You know, he don't love me or whatever. And then she's like talking about, you know, like, see, under there, like especially if he was gonna, her son was gonna go to Casterly Rock, like, you know, she would have been silent just with her son as a hostage or whatever, you know what I mean? But now she's just up there alone, her kid's safe, like, she's gonna grow bolder, she could say something and like level accusations and stuff. And another thing, you know, like Robert's just looking to hate me and stuff, and he's still in love with Ned's freaking sister, you know, and she calls her like insipid and stuff, like she's trash talking Lyanna. And she's like, so how long before he puts me aside for a new Lyanna? You know what I mean? Talking about like, because I guess in Cersei's world, and this kind of says a lot about her, like, everybody's up to something, everybody's plotting, everybody's replaceable, and you only keep people around because of, like, you can use them, you know what I mean? Like, and that's very, I had that in her head, and I have this theory, because the only two Lannisters I've seen that weren't absolute pieces of crap were Tommen and Tyrion, you know, the imp. So I think like when they're growing up to about 3 feet, it's like decent. It's like, okay, that's a normal person. And then anything that grows over 3 feet, it's just cocksucker. Like the whole way, like just butt face, right? Because everyone over 3 feet is a butt face, right? So anyway, he's like, oh, you know, lay off it, it'll be fine, we can handle him, da-da-da. And you hear her like knock it off, and you hear like a slap, right? And then he's talking, and he's kind of being like a macho chauvinist dude, and he's like what is it about having babies that makes bitches crazy, like, basically. And you hear like some more slaps and stuff, and like Bran, like the whole time he's like trying to figure out how to get past this window so he can go feed his birds, and because he doesn't want to get spotted. So he finally like gets up on top of the roof And he's like over, and he's like, okay, now I gotta see what's going on. And Bran turns into like Spider Bran, and he's hanging up. Sorry, I had the glasses. There's a lot of exposition. I didn't know Professor Tory this time. I'm sorry. That's just, it's bad craft. I'll do better. Anyway, so like he's Spider Bran, he's hanging upside down and stuff, and he's like lowering his head, you know, and by the time he sees it and stuff, like he's hearing like mac and cheese noises, and he thinks they're wrestling and stuff, and then like he's like, ew, they're probably kissing, you know, because he's 7. And like he looks down, and like Cersei's like moaning, you know, Jaime's got his hand in between her legs and stuff because he's helping adjust her belt or something. And there's a kid around, right? And she's got her Lannisters out, you know. So Bran's just like, ooh! and he wasn't ready, you know, to get that personal with the lion. So he gets so shook, like they like lock eyes afterwards, and she's like, you saw my Lannisters, you know, and starts screaming and pointing, and Bran falls, like straight falls off the gargoyle. He's like, oh, yeah, and he's going through the air like scrabbling. He like misses and swings, and he catches the ledge, and he's like, oh, and then he looks up, and boom, there's Cersei and Jaime looking down at him, right? And he's like, oh my god, and Jaime is like, grab my arm, you know, like, or you're gonna die. And he pulls him up, you know, and he's standing there, and he's got him on the sill, and Cersei's like, he seen my stuff, he heard the stuff, blah blah blah, you know. And Jaime is like, it's like, how old are you, you know? And Bran is like, I'm 7, you know. And Jaime's just like, the things I do for love, you know. And it says like he said it loathing or whatever before he yeets freaking Bran, poor Bran, 7-year-old, innocent, wanted to go feed some crows some freaking corn. Bran, he yeets him out a window, you know, and Bran like just smacks right into the ground. And that's why I got beef with George R.R. Martin. I had to listen to this chapter 6 freaking times. That's a lot of little kids to get yeeted out of a window because of info dumping, man. That was hard. I really like Bran. Bran is super cute and stuff. I think because there's like later chapters that mention Bran, I don't think he's like dead, but like, whoo, like that first time I was like, this dude just killed Bran, right? And like, I don't care if even if it says like he said it loathing or whatever, because he could have, if he was freaked out and just checking out for his sister, he could have just let Bran fall, you know, but he didn't. He pulled Bran up, he talked to him, and then he yeeted him out the window to make a show for his sister of him taking care of it, which tells me he's a cold sociopath, which means Cersei, total piece of rotten, plotting snake garbage that definitely killed Jon Arryn. And Jaime, freaking also, you know, as well as being her incestuous lover, also just a sociopathic killer who stole Ned Stark, and they installed themselves basically like off, you know, the work of the houses Stark and Baratheon, you know, and pretty much ingratiated themselves or whatever. Freaking Joffrey is a little shit, to quote John, you know, who like can't face getting his butt kicked by Robb, whatever, to the point of risking Robb's life, because if you can't convince me he wasn't trying to bait Robb into getting into serious trouble for cutting him. And I think Roderick actually knew that. And that's why, you know, like, he just took the hits to his pride and stayed mad, because he was trying to cover Robb, because he knew Robb was going to get wild. Anyway, but that's the freaking chapter. It's just like, hey, let's spend the entire chapter making this kid as cute and innocent as possible, and just like trying to love life and spend one last time where he feels comfy before he can go off and start feeling like a man. And then let's just yeet this little Bran out a window like little Bran flakes in the snow. Right? Just like he just threw him out the window. Fuck Lannisters. Like, I know I'm trying to be unbiased as a narrator, but I am team yeet Jaime and Cersei out a window. Like, I'm team kick Viserys with the horse, and team yeet the Lannisters out a window. All right. Anyway, that was the chapter. That was Bran, chapter 8, Bran. I'm still traumatized. I had to relive that moment 6 separate times to remember a bunch of info dump names, because he's hiding all the history in all the really rough chapters. So that is not ideal at all, and I wish I had been warned. But it's it's not like I had to fall back in love with him every time and then experience him getting yeeted out a window. But I'm dedicated to my craft. I said I was going to do this. We're doing it. Anyway, I'm Tory Torrential. That was chapter 8. I love you.
Thanks for watching my show. Like and subscribe.